And it is day 2 of the challenge. And we're gonna give this guy some FaceTime. Haha. What I've done so far today is, as you might see, that I've base coated the face and his bald head, which in a kind of tanned skin tone. I achieved this by mixing 2 colors, by mixing tan and bronze flesh tone in about equal parts. I haven't filmed the painting of this because it's kind of boring. When I lay down a base coat like this, I like to make it very thin yet at the same time solid, which means putting down multiple thin coats. In this case, there's 4 coats of the base layer. And, well, actually there's a 5th coat because I tried mixing up a wash of just the tan to try to deepen the shadows, but that was too subtle. It's not actually visible. It seems like the tan took over the base color quite a lot, so using just the tan color made no difference. That's noticeable. So what I'm going to do now to deepen the shade in the recesses a little bit is instead to use this wash, the flesh tone shade, which, as you can perhaps see, is a bit darker than the tan. I've got some on my palette, and I'm going to very carefully apply this, not slapping it on too sloppily. We don't want it to pool up and make a mess, but we do want it to shade the recesses like the eye sockets here. And, well, up here we can just slap it on, doesn't matter. It'll collect at the edges where the flesh meets these other parts, which is fine. This is what we want from it. And there. Okay, first wash done. While that is drying, I'm going to take some pure black that I put on my palette, and I'm going to start filling in various areas that need to be just pure black. Like, for instance, these sections that I've talked about before, the rubber ribbing and so forth. And normally I wouldn't show myself painting all this, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the question of the day, and I need to be doing something while I talk, so it's not just talking over a still picture. The question of the day was, well, let me look at my cheat sheet. It says, do you remember the first miniature you ever painted? What was that like? Where is it now? Okay, and the simplest answer is no, I don't recall exactly the first miniature I ever painted. But if you can call, when I was a young boy, I used to play with toy soldiers, and I played with Airfix 1/72nd scale plastic soldiers, and I recall painting some of those, some World War II guys and some cowboys and Indians, and I have no memory of what they look like, probably very primitive, and I don't have any of those left, but I assume they were painted. What I had access to at that time was simply Humbrol enamel paints. That's what I used because I built and painted model kits of airplanes and the like. And so I probably used those paints for my little toy soldiers as well. So they probably turned out kind of grotty, I assume. Get some black in there. But the next step, if we're talking actual hobby miniatures, we'll have to turn the clock forward to the late 80s, when I was into role-playing games more, and I started painting miniatures for those. And I think I have some of those left, actually. You know what? We will cut to another segment where I display some of my old minis right now. So if we're talking actual gaming minis, I think these are some of the first I ever painted. The background is that my friends and I were doing a role-playing tournament for a convention, and we wanted to finish this scenario off with a big sort of diorama, a battle in a town. And so we built a town, and we painted up a whole horde of minis. And my assignment was to paint civilians and bystanders. And so I painted up a lot of guys in a very short time. And yeah, I mean, you can see how they look. They're not horrible, are they? I mean, for gaming purposes, they're not awful. And I mean, I still bring some of these guys out. If somebody's if we're playing D&D and they visit a tavern, I get, you know, the bartender, the barmaid, the drunkard, the bard, some chick with a book, some merchant, I don't know what he is, a beggar with some sort of deformity, and just some people just standing around. And yeah, that's some of my earlier minis. So after that little trip down memory lane, we are back in the modern day, and we have a dried coat of various colors. First off, the shade coat has sort of given him a bit more definition in various places. You can see his features more clearly. He has a sort of hangdog look. He's got a kind of Bruce Willis thing going on. We're going to deepen up that a little bit more, even in certain places. I'll get to that in a moment. A lot of areas are black now. I blacked out the entire pistol, because that's going to be mostly metallic, and what's not metallic is going to be some dark color. The casing. I'm not exactly sure what yet. I might leave it black, or I might paint it a kind of dark red. Not sure. Anyway, I'm going to do two more things before we end today, so it's not to run too long. Number one is I'm going to add a little bit of Druchii Violet to the face. Violet to a face, you ask? That seems weird. Well, no. It's actually quite natural. I'm only going to add it, well, to begin with, like, I'm going to go around the face, around the edges, where the flesh meets other types of material, because that might darken it a bit. It's kind of like bruising almost here. I'm trying to be careful here and not over saturate the thing. I'm not sure when the skull comes so close to the camera whether it focuses so you can see anything, but oh well. I'm also trying to go sort of under his chin here and into the eye sockets because they need to be fairly dark. Like so. And his lower lip, I want to emphasize a little bit. That's probably a bit too dark, but oh well. And maybe around these little, I painted these little studs on his forehead black because they're going to be silver later. And yeah, that's about it for the shading. Let's put this away. And I'm going to bring out another color. Again, this is the last thing I'm going to do today. I have actually hit a milestone in that all the stuff I filmed in April, the boot camp and the prequels, actually filled up my memory card. It's a 32 gig memory card and it's completely full. So I had to scratch everything from it and start over. I still have all the videos on the hard drive on my PC, but I don't know how long I can save those. I'm going to need that hard drive space eventually for something. But YouTube is going to save these videos for all eternity, aren't they? Anyway, what I'm going to do is go in to these ridged areas here, and I'm going to give them a highlight of heavy charcoal. Now, heavy charcoal is a dark gray color, and it's in the extra opaque line, which means that it's kind of like a Citadel base color. It has extra pigments, which is good because we're putting on a very thin coat over black, and we want it to be visible. And what I am doing is I'm taking very little paint on the brush, and I don't know if this can even be seen, what I'm going to do. I'm going to just very lightly run it over the tops of these ridges, so they just pick up a little bit of color. It's kind of almost dry brushing, but not quite. And the point of this is not to be an in-your-face sort of highlight. It's simply that I want to be thorough. I mean, I'm not going to highlight it anymore after this. It's just there so that if somebody for some reason scrutinizes this model very carefully and looks down in these areas, they will see, oh, he put 2 colors in there, not just 1. Wow, that's impressive. That's a lot of work. Or, well, it seems like a lot of work. And yeah. Anyway, since I very much doubt what I'm doing now is even visible on camera, I'm not going to subject you to it any longer. I'm going to stop here and come back tomorrow with the painting of the eyes and the highlighting of the face. I'm wondering whether I should this sort of thing here, whether this should be this color. It might look a bit dull, just gray. I might paint this metallic, like it's a reinforced cable, because it's running to the force sword, so there's got to be a lot of energy and stuff coursing through it. Yeah, it probably needs to be something tougher than just rubber. Yeah. We'll justify it that way. Anyway, thank you for bearing with me for another long video. Day 2 of the painting challenge is over. Come back tomorrow for day 3. Dakion signing off.